Social media, right. It's everywhere. We connect on it, share on it, some even get their news from it. But have you ever stopped to think about the impact it all has?
It's definitely a double-edged sword.
Totally. So today we're doing something kind of different. We're taking a deep dive into a podcast script all about social media. It's like a behind the scenes look at how this other show is tackling the topic.
Oh, interesting. What show is it?
It's called Digital Connections. They focus on, tech's impact on our lives. And from what I've seen, they don't shy away from the tough stuff.
I like that. So what's their take on social media?
Well, they start by talking about all the positives, connections, online communities, finding your voice. But then, bam, it's like they hit you with the reality check, the pressure to look perfect, the constant comparisons, even the fear of missing out.
Ah, the old bait and switch. Though, to be fair, it's a pretty common technique, right?
How so?
It's about starting with the good stuff, the stuff we all want to believe about social media. Gets people nodding along.
Yeah.
And then you introduce the not-so-fun side.
So you're more open to hearing it because they've already built up that trust. Sneaky.
Exactly. And speaking of sneaky, the script also dives into mindful consumption and curating your feed, encouraging users to take control.
Which is way easier said than done, right? I mean, how do you actually do that when you're constantly bombarded?
Right. Well, for starters, it's about being more aware. Like, how does social media actually make you feel? Instead of just scrolling on autopilot, notice if you're left feeling informed and connected, or maybe a little anxious, inadequate even.
I've definitely been there. That comparison trap is so easy to fall into.
And that's where curating your feed comes in. Choosing who and what you allow to influence you.
So unfollowing that one friend who only posts perfectly filtered vacation photos, even if they are incredible photos.
Maybe. But that does bring up another point. What about the dangers of curating too much?
Ooh, good point. Are we just creating echo chambers where we only see what we agree with?
Exactly. It's a slippery slope. And it's interesting because the script touches on this too, but in a professional context.
Oh, right. They shift gears to LinkedIn and the whole networking aspect. And it's not just about having a profile, it's about online etiquette too, which I never really thought about much before.
Well, think of it like this. Just like in-person networking, how you present yourself online matters.
It's all about that first impression.
Exactly. The tone you use, how you handle disagreements, even what you choose to comment on, it all adds up.
It's like online brand management in a way.
Precisely. You are your own brand.
And then just when you think they've covered it all, the script takes this almost ominous turn when they start talking about privacy.
Yeah, they don't sugarcoat it. And rightfully so.
It's like a reminder that all this connection comes at a cost.
Right. There's a trade-off. The script really highlights the importance of being informed. Do we even read those privacy policies or just click accept to get to the good stuff?
Oh, I'm so guilty of that.
We all are. But maybe taking a minute to actually understand those settings, that's a form of mindful consumption in itself.
Totally. Okay, so wrapping up, I do like how the script ends on a positive note, encouraging listeners to reflect on their habits.
It's not about deleting all social media, right? It's about being intentional with how we use it.
Quality over quantity, as they say.
Exactly. Maybe instead of aiming for thousands of followers, we focus on cultivating a few meaningful connections.
So, for our listeners, what would you say is the biggest takeaway? What's that one thing you hope sticks with them about social media?
That's a good question. How about this? How would our behavior change if we engaged with social media knowing someone, somewhere, was analyzing our every move?
That's a little creepy, but also very possible.
Exactly. It makes you think about the data we generate, the image we project, the digital footprint we leave behind.
And that's just from one general podcast script. Imagine the deep dives we could do on niche communities online. Gamers, artists, activists, each with their own set of opportunities and challenges.
Now that's something to think about.
Definitely. And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.